I transmigrated into a novel as the villainous, supporting male character. My CEO wife, Celine, stood before me, trying to force a divorce. Jail or divorce, pick one. Remembering the original character's tragic fate, I swiftly grabbed the pen and signed my name on the divorce papers. Celine's face instantly darkened. Lucas, have you really thought this through? My heart skipped a beat. I quickly clutched my wallet. Was she kidding? $2 million in settlement money? I wasn't giving back a single cent. I died from exhaustion after pulling an all-nighter and transmigrated into a novel as the supporting male character. When I woke up, I found myself locked in a basement. The original character's name was Lucas. He was spoiled and reckless thanks to his family's wealth. 3 years ago, he fell in love at first sight with the female lead, Celine, who was working part-time at a club. But Celine didn't like him, so he resorted to coercion and force. He used her mother's medical bills as leverage, forcing her to marry him. Their 3 years of marriage were unhappy. No matter what he did, Celine never loved him. She loved her first love, Caleb. He often went crazy with jealousy. While he was losing his mind over love, Celine, with her own abilities, rose to become a business tycoon. Meanwhile, his family went bankrupt, leaving him destitute. His father jumped to his death, and his mother lay critically ill in the hospital. Just 2 days ago, jealous that Celine had given Caleb a birthday gift, he'd hit Caleb with his car. Furious, Celine locked him in the basement, giving him no food or water. Just when I thought I was going to die like this, Celine finally appeared. She threw a divorce agreement at me, looking down on me condescendingly. Lucas, Caleb is badly injured. If we press charges, you'll face criminal liability. Hearing this, my eyelids twitched. Having just gotten a new lease on life, I didn't want to go to jail. Jail or divorce, pick one. Celine's pretty face was icy. The only one I love is Caleb. Sign the divorce papers now. With that, she tossed the pen in front of me. I picked up the agreement, and my eyes instantly lit up. After the divorce, I would get a $2 million settlement and a villa in a prime city location. This incredible fortune had finally fallen into my lap. I had to admit, the CEO was generous. Suppressing my excitement, I quickly picked up the pen to sign. Unexpectedly, the pen was out of ink. Panicked, I bit my finger, signed with blood, and handed it to her. Signed. When will the settlement be transferred? Celine was stunned, not expecting me to be so agreeable. Previously, whenever she mentioned divorce, I would throw a tantrum, make a scene, and threaten suicide, sometimes even going berserk. In short, I would never agree to a divorce. You agreed to the divorce? I bit my lip hard, afraid she'd see the ecstatic grin threatening to spread across my face. After a moment of silence, I closed my eyes. These past 2 days, I nearly starved to death. I thought a lot. Rather than have you hate me in the end, it's better to set you free now. Because I agreed to the divorce, Celine released me from the basement. Once out, I worried the blood-signed agreement might be invalid, so I went out, had a new copy printed, and signed it properly. I was about to give it to Celine when I saw her on the phone, her expression grave. I'll be right there. After hanging up, she grabbed me. Come with me to the hospital. At the hospital, I learned that Caleb had hemophilia and urgently needed a blood transfusion. My blood type happened to be a match. Celine wanted me to donate blood to Caleb. I cursed inwardly. I'd always been terrified of needles, and losing so much blood would take ages to recover from. Can I not donate blood? Celine's face was full of contempt. If you hadn't hit Caleb with your car, he wouldn't be lying here at death's door. She gripped my arm tightly, her gaze filled with such hatred it felt like she wanted to tear me limb from limb. You're donating this blood whether you like it or not. And so, 400 milliliters of my blood was drawn. I felt incredibly weak, almost fainting. Celine didn't even glance at me. Her thoughts were solely on Caleb. I suddenly felt a pang of disappointment. No matter what, I had genuinely loved Celine before, given her my whole heart, only to be treated like less than dirt. In her eyes, anyone would feel disheartened. But the thought of the impending $2 million revived my spirits. What was a little blood loss for money? Leaving the hospital, I pulled out my phone and happened to see a trending topic. Caleb was Celine's childhood friend. Last year, Celine had poured money into making him an A-list young actor. Because I'd gone crazy and hit Caleb with my car, I was being relentlessly flamed online, trending for days. Netizens were viciously attacking me personally, and had even photoshopped a funeral portrait of me. I didn't care about these rabid fans. As long as the money came through, they could curse me, even throw eggs at me. Of course, not at my handsome face. Thinking about this, I started to consider whether I should try live streaming sales. I was quite infamous now. With good traffic, I could definitely earn a lot. I remembered Celine's company had a media division, so I eagerly called her. Celine rejected me flat out. We're not divorced yet. You're not allowed to go live streaming and embarrass me. Dejected, I returned home, to be precise, Celine's home. After my family went bankrupt, the grand villa I used to live in was auctioned off. This villa was bought by Celine. She could kick me out anytime. I wandered around and noticed Celine loved buying jewelry. Each piece was priceless, and many were gifts I'd given her in the past. I figured if I pocketed 1 or 2 pieces, she wouldn't notice, given her vast collection. News of my impending divorce with Celine somehow reached her grandmother, who flew into a rage, adamantly refusing to allow it. So, Celine asked me to go with her to see her grandmother. Celine's parents died when she was very young, and her grandmother raised her, so she respected her grandmother deeply. Of course, I was unwilling. I didn't want any complications with the divorce. Then again, if Grandma opposed the divorce, who knew when I'd get the settlement money? It was better to get some cash up front. If you want me to accompany you to see your grandmother, fine. According to the agreement, you owe me a $2 million settlement. Give me $200,000 first. Celine looked at me with disgust. Lucas, when did you become so money-grubbing? Seriously, try going bankrupt once and see if you don't become obsessed with money. I absolutely loved it now. Besides, the one who used to treat money like dirt wasn't me. In my real life, I'd even hesitate to spend $10 on spicy snacks, so now all I wanted was to make money, as much as possible. I'm just fighting for my legal rights. How can you call that money grubbing? Disgusted as she was, Celine quickly transferred $200,000 to me. Seeing the transaction notification on my phone, I was very satisfied. After Celine made it big, she wanted to move her grandmother into the large villa, but her grandmother preferred her old house, saying one shouldn't forget their roots. The moment Grandma saw me, her face crinkled into a wide, happy smile. Previously, to please Celine, I had always been very filial to her grandmother, often visiting to chat and bringing her various health supplements, so she firmly believed I was her grandson-in-law. Lucas, dear, don't worry. I won't let Celine marry that actor. If they want to be together, it'll be over my dead body. Celine and Caleb were childhood sweethearts, but Grandma never liked Caleb, thinking he was fundamentally opportunistic. Celine was helpless, but didn't dare say anything. I held Grandma's withered hand. Grandma, don't say such unlucky things like dead. You'll definitely live a long and healthy life. Grandma beamed even more. Our Celine is lucky to have married you. That's right. Without me, Celine wouldn't be the renowned figure in the business world she is today. Half of her success was due to me. It was perfectly reasonable for her to give me a $2 million settlement. Seeing how happy I made her grandmother, Celine's feelings were complicated. On the way back, she warned me. I'll convince Grandma in a few days. The divorce will happen. Don't even think about backing out. What a joke. Even if you sold me, I wouldn't be worth $2 million. I'd have to be brain dead to back out. I nodded. Then please hurry. Celine seemed surprised by my attitude, pursing her red lips. Stop playing hard to get with me. The next morning, I received a call from the hospital saying my mom could have her surgery, but the medical fees needed to be paid within 3 days at the latest. But I hadn't received the full settlement yet, and $200,000 wasn't enough. If I couldn't gather the money for her surgery, she would die. I had no choice but to go find Celine. At that moment, Celine was at the hospital taking care of Caleb. I ran out of breath to her. Celine, transfer me another $300,000. Before Celine could speak, Caleb, sitting on the hospital bed, looked at me and said, "You want money?" "Sure." I met his gaze. Seeing the anger and hatred in his eyes, I knew if Celine weren't here, he would have lunged at me and strangled me. The next second, I heard him sneer. One striptease, $200,000. It seemed Caleb had made quite a bit of money after becoming famous, learning to make outrageous demands. But without Celine, he'd still just be a car mechanic. Celine's pretty face was expressionless. She didn't stop him because the old Lucas had also humiliated Caleb in the past. Back then, Caleb was still a car mechanic, and Lucas, jealous of Celine's love for him, constantly troubled him, even deliberately going to his auto shop for repairs, forcing him to kneel and throwing money at him. Lucas was truly a scoundrel. What? Unwilling to dance. 2 stripteases for 400,000. Before Caleb could finish, I had already stripped down to my underwear and started writhing, afraid he'd regret it if I delayed even a second. Celine was stunned. Caleb was also dumbfounded. The past me, though a playboy, was still a young master born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He would never bow his head, let alone perform a striptease. It was an absolute insult. Celine frowned at me, her eyes filled with disgust. Lucas, I sneakily pinched my thigh, forcing out a couple of tears, and choked out. My mom is waiting for surgery money to save her life. I didn't want to agree either, but he was offering too much. I looked up, my eyes red-rimmed, at Celine. Do you want me to do 2 stripteases for you too? For old time's sake, I'll give you a discount. Just 30,000. Celine was furious. Put your clothes on and get out. In the end, I got 400,000 and was thrown out of the hospital by Celine's men. I simply lay on the ground to rest for a bit, as I had pulled my back dancing earlier. After a short while, a shadow fell over me. I looked closely. It was my arch-rival, Fiona. The reason for our friction was simple. Once at an auction, I competed with Fiona to buy a ruby necklace for Celine. Of course, being wealthier, I bought it for 3 times her bid. Afterward, we were always at odds whenever we met, neither willing to back down. She mocked me for being a simp, and I mocked her for being single. News of my divorce with Celine was widespread, so she naturally knew. Seizing the opportunity, she wouldn't miss a chance to kick me while I was down. Lucas, I never thought the great Lucas of the Anderson family would see this day. I told you, being a simp will only leave you with nothing. I really wanted to shout that I wasn't left with nothing. I still had a $2 million settlement and a villa. However, I remembered that in the book, Fiona's family was very wealthy, comparable to the Anderson family in its prime, and she herself was a business prodigy, starting her own successful company after graduation. $2 million was chump change to her. It's all right, I guess. Fiona sneered. The toughest thing about you is your mouth. I retorted without showing weakness. Have you tried it? Fiona's face flushed, and she said no more. I raised an eyebrow. Little brat, trying to out-argue me? Fiona kicked me lightly. Hey, you got dumped, right? What are you doing playing dead here? I brushed off the spot on my pants she had kicked and stood up. I haven't eaten yet. Why don't you treat me? Fiona looked at me as if I were some kind of monster. Did a donkey kick you in the head? I thought she was unwilling to treat me. I'm saying you're the CEO of a listed company. I'm just asking you to treat me to 1 meal. Can you not be so stingy? Fiona seemed provoked by my words and took me to the most expensive restaurant in town. I had never eaten foie gras, truffles, or such delicacies before. I stuffed myself like a starving man. Fiona sat opposite me, covering her face. You've completely ruined my appetite. I swiftly moved her plate over. Perfect. I haven't had enough yet. No exaggeration, I had to lean on the wall to walk out. I was that stuffed. Back home, I lay leisurely on the sofa, wondering how to spend the $2 million once I got it. Should I buy land first, or a car? Celine walked over, her face serious. Grandma's health has been very poor recently. The doctor said she can't be agitated. We're not getting divorced for now. What? I shot up from the sofa in shock. No way. Not getting divorced for now meant my $2 million was about to fly away. How could I not go crazy? Perhaps seeing my unusual reaction, Celine narrowed her beautiful eyes. You really want to divorce me? I was baffled. Was being fickle a trait of all overbearing CEOs? She was the one who wanted the divorce first, and now she was blaming me. I just think you're miserable with me, and I don't want you to be unhappy. But I didn't expect Celine to not only postpone the divorce, but also make me act like a loving couple with her in front of Grandma. Visiting Grandma with her was fine, but acting was a different price. Acting isn't my profession, it's a bit difficult. How about this? You buy me a villa in the city first, one I can move into right away. Although the current villa was luxurious and spacious, I was still living under someone else's roof. Celine's eyes scrutinized me, her silent demeanor sending shivers down my spine. I lowered my head and said, I'm thinking of you. Seeing me every day can't be good for your mood. Celine eventually agreed because buying me a villa was part of the agreement anyway. After paying my mom's medical bills at the hospital, I went with Celine to see her grandmother. Sure enough, Grandma's mood improved immensely upon seeing me. She had been lying in bed motionless, but now she said she wanted to show me her square dancing. I quickly helped her sit down. Lucas, dear, you and Celine have been married for several years. It's time to have a child. I looked at Celine, catching a hint of red on her ear. How novel. But Celine and I were a couple in name only. She had been saving herself for Caleb, and I couldn't exactly make a baby on my own. Leaving the old house, I asked. Grandma seems to be in good spirits, so her health should be fine. When can we go finalize the divorce? Celine frowned. Besides divorce, is there nothing else you want to say to me? Yes, there is. When will the settlement arrive? I'm waiting to go on a shopping spree. As long as we're not divorced, Caleb is the other man. Are you willing to let that happen? Celine stared at me, then finally spoke after a long pause. Actually, between Caleb and me, it's not. Suddenly, her phone rang. I glanced and saw it was Caleb's call. I tactfully said, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Just let me know when we're going to get the divorce certificate. I had just hailed a cab when I received a WeChat message from Fiona. Accompany me to a banquet tonight. I smirked. My appearance fee is very expensive, Fiona. I'll treat you to dinner in a few days, same standard as last time. Deal. Night fell. Dressed in a suit, I appeared at the banquet. Amidst the dazzling lights, I almost lost myself. It wasn't long before I figured out why Fiona wanted me to accompany her. Her father was trying to set her up on a blind date, and she was using me as a shield. So, I leaned in close to her and said, this is a big sacrifice. Remember to treat me to 2 meals, mainly because I couldn't just spend my money recklessly, unlike her. I wasn't a walking ATM. Fiona smiled brightly. Sure, no problem. Celine walked over and saw the scene, her hand tightening around her wine glass. I saw her too. It wasn't surprising to encounter her at such a high-end banquet. A little later, Celine cornered me outside the restroom. You're still technically under my name. You'd better behave. Damn, wasn't I behaving enough? I'd behaved so much I'd practically handed you over. Women's possessiveness is terrifying. We were about to divorce, and she still wanted to control me. But I wasn't going to argue with her, because in a way, she was my financial backer. Simply put, I hadn't gotten the money yet. Got it. Seeing my perfunctory attitude, Celine's red lips pressed into a thin line. Celine, true to her CEO nature, was highly efficient. She quickly bought a villa for me. I was also sensible, visiting Grandma every few days, keeping her happy, and all her ailments seemed to disappear. After getting the keys to the villa, I went back to pack my things, unexpectedly finding Caleb there too. Celine emerged from the kitchen with dishes, froze for a moment when she saw me. I also froze for a moment. In 3 years of marriage, I never knew Celine could cook. Instead, I was the one who spent months learning from a chef just to get her to eat a few more bites. Every time I cooked a table full of food, waiting for her to come home from work, she wouldn't even glance at it. She didn't care when my hand got burned. Caleb looked at me smugly, as if to say, she loves me. You're a loser. Celine's cooking smells so good. I'll have to eat 2 extra bowls later. I ignored him and went straight upstairs to pack, but Celine followed me up, explaining uncharacteristically. Caleb just got out of the hospital. He's still very weak, so Let's go get the divorce certificate. I interrupted her. Celine looked at me, clenching her fists. Are you serious? More serious than a heart attack. I was sick and tired of this humiliation, the actual wife acting like the other woman. Once divorced, she could cook for Caleb's entire family for all I cared. I nodded. Isn't divorce what we agreed on before? Celine's face tensed, and after a moment of silence, she said, fine, as you wish. On the way to the city hall, the car was silent. The oppressive aura emanating from Celine was suffocating. Life's tough, and earning money is harder. When we finally arrived, I hurriedly pushed open the car door to breathe some fresh air. The divorce proceedings were completed quickly, and my 2 million arrived in my account. I finally got the money. Celine looked at me. Lucas, with the money in hand, I couldn't suppress the smile on my face. What's up? Celine looked at the smile on my face. Her lips moved. I'll give you a ride. I waved my hand. No need. It's not on the way. It's convenient for me to get a cab. I was so happy I just wanted to spend money. First, I went to a BMW dealership and ordered a car, then went shopping at the mall. This kind of divine life was amazing. I couldn't understand why my past self insisted on trying to win over Celine's heart, which was as cold and hard as a stone. Over the weekend, Fiona kept her promise and treated me to dinner. I ordered the most expensive dishes in the entire restaurant and had the waiter open a bottle of the most expensive red wine. If I didn't help her spend her money, some other man would spend it for her in the future. Fiona rested her chin on her hand and said casually, "Lucas, you're really not holding back at all." I pulled out my divorce certificate and tossed it on the table. "I'm divorced. You have to help me celebrate properly." Fiona's eyes widened. She picked up the divorce certificate and looked at me in astonishment. "You're divorced?" I nodded. "Absolutely true." Fiona smiled. "The water in your brain has finally drained out." Leaving the restaurant, Fiona drove me home. As we reached my doorstep, it coincidentally started to pour rain. Thinking about the dinner that cost over 100,000, I kindly asked, "The rain is too heavy. Do you want to come in for a glass of water and wait for it to stop before you go back?" Fiona looked at the downpour. Driving back now was indeed dangerous, so she came inside with me. I casually found a shirt from my closet for her. "I don't have any women's clothes here. You can wear this." Fiona's face flushed, but I had already turned and gone to another room, so I didn't see her expression. When I came out after a shower, the doorbell rang. I had only moved in a few days ago, and no one knew I lived here. Could it be security? I went to open the door. The person standing outside was surprisingly Celine. She glanced at me wrapped only in a towel, and then saw Fiona standing not far away, wearing a man's shirt. Her delicate, pretty face turned cold and dark. "Lucas, I didn't buy you this house so you could fool around with other women. Lady, we're divorced. You're really overstepping." But Celine was doing well now. I was afraid if she got upset, she'd make me leave this city. Leaving wouldn't be a problem, but my big villa wasn't even warmed up yet. "No, Fiona's clothes got wet in the rain, so she's just borrowing mine temporarily." "I don't believe you. Believe it or not." I couldn't be bothered to explain anymore. "It's late. What do you want from me?" Celine forced herself to calm down. "Have you seen my ruby necklace?" I guiltily averted my gaze. I had sold that necklace long ago, and the money was invested in the stock market. Those stocks were soaring right now. "Haven't seen it. Why don't you go back and look for it carefully?" Celine bit her red lip. "I'm soaked too. Aren't you going to let me in to change?" She was indeed drenched. Her hair stuck to her face, looking utterly disheveled. Fiona crossed her arms, looking at me with a half smile. "Don't tell me your love-struck brain is acting up again." She had witnessed how humbly I used to pursue Celine. I pulled my towel up a bit. "It's not convenient. How about I call Caleb to come pick you up?" Celine was stunned, not expecting me to refuse her. A trace of grievance appeared in her usually cold eyes. The next second, she fainted in front of me. I touched her forehead. It was scorching. She had a fever. I quickly rushed her to the hospital. When Caleb arrived at the hospital, Celine hadn't woken up yet. Seeing me standing by the hospital bed, Caleb grabbed my collar. "Lucas, you two are already divorced. Don't even think you can get back together with Celine." Which eye of his saw me wanting to get back with Celine? I pushed his hand away and patted my collar. "I can't be bothered to argue with a scumbag like you." Since Caleb was here, I could leave. I had just reached the door when I heard a weak voice from behind. How did I end up in the hospital? "Celine, you're finally awake. Lucas called me and said you fainted at his doorstep. I brought you to the hospital." That manipulative snake, Caleb, was deliberately saying this for me to hear. If I lost my temper and punched him like before, he could make Celine feel sorry for him again. But he miscalculated this time. I was no longer the Lucas who used to get jealous and fight with him. I opened the door and strode away. The next morning, while I was still asleep, I received a call from Fiona. She had accidentally fractured her hand and wanted me to visit her, otherwise she'd be too bored alone in the hospital room. Fiona still owed me a meal. Apart from being a bit of a spoiled princess, she was quite nice. I got up, had breakfast, and went to the hospital. On the way, I spent $88 on a bouquet of flowers. You have to spend money to make money. I'd get her to treat me to an even bigger meal next time. At the hospital, just as I stepped out of the elevator, I saw Caleb helping Celine down the hall. Seeing me, Celine quickly pulled her hand out of Caleb's, saying nervously, "It's not what you think." I was bewildered. "Excuse me, please let me pass." They were blocking the elevator entrance. I couldn't get through. Celine looked at the flowers in my arms and asked, "Aren't you here to see me?" I blurted out, "No." Celine froze. Just then, Fiona walked over, cradling her casted arm. Lucas, what are you standing there foolishly for? Coming, coming. I pushed Caleb aside, walked over, and stuffed the flowers into her hands, reminding her in a low voice. You still owe me a meal, don't forget. Celine stared stiffly at Fiona and me. Caleb snorted. Celine, I told you Lucas was no good. You were almost dying of pneumonia, and he didn't even come to see you once. He talks about loving you, but how long has it been since the divorce, and he's already hooked up with another woman? Fiona looked at Caleb and sneered. You better watch your mouth. Dare to say another word about him and see what happens. The reason I didn't provoke Celine and Caleb was because I knew they were the male and female leads of this book. As a cannon fodder supporting character, confronting them would lead to a bad end. But Fiona was different. She had the capital. Besides, whenever I clashed with Caleb in the past, Celine never sided with me. She always protected Caleb. To repay Fiona, I decided to peel an apple for her. A little over a week later, Fiona was discharged from the hospital. She bought a pile of ingredients and wanted to have hot pot at my place. She even made me go out and help her carry them. As I was taking things from her trunk, a car's headlights shone on us. It was Celine. She parked her car, got out, glanced at Fiona standing next to me, and frowned. When did you two get so close? Fiona smiled. Celine, this is between Lucas and me. I looked at Celine and asked, do you need something from me? Logically, she shouldn't have anything to ask of me. The divorce was finalized, and I visited Grandma regularly. Celine stared at me. How did you make that pumpkin porridge you used to make for me? I thought it was something important. There are recipes online, you can look it up. Celine asked, can't you make it for me? Do I look like a simp? I shook my head. It's not appropriate. We're already divorced. We should keep our distance. Celine bit her lip, looking somewhat hurt. Just as I was about to turn and leave, I heard her say, I bought back that ruby necklace. I touched my rather prominent nose. Did she know I stole her necklace? Though I had given it to her before, so it wasn't exactly stealing. She wouldn't make me cough up all the money I invested in the stock market, would she? Celine took the necklace out of her bag. This necklace was a gift from you. I've always loved it. I loved it too. It was valuable. Glad you like it. Well, we'll head inside then. With that, I carried several bags of groceries and went inside with Fiona. Celine stood there motionless for a long time. Fiona looked at me, busy with the ingredients. Don't you think Celine is acting strange? I looked at her, shocked. Could it be she has a terminal illness and is about to die? But I didn't remember that part in the book's plot. Fiona rolled her eyes at me. I think she likes you. I opened a bag of spicy strips and tossed one into my mouth. You must be mistaken. She's always been eager to dump me and live happily ever after with her childhood sweetheart. Fiona stroked her chin. She's come to you actively twice with trivial excuses. Do you think she's just bored? I thought about it carefully. It did seem to make some sense. Seeing my thoughtful expression, Fiona held her breath slightly and poked my head. You're not wavering, are you? Thinking of getting back together with her? How could that be? I never go back to an ex. Hearing me say that, Fiona seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, her expression returning to normal. Fiona and I ate hot pot and drank, and eventually we both got drunk. When I woke up, I found us asleep on the sofa. Fiona woke up too and ordered me to go buy breakfast. For the sake of last night's hot pot, I had to go. I opened the door and unexpectedly saw Celine standing by her car, still wearing last night's clothes. Clearly, she had been standing there all night. My God, was this a cheesy drama? If it could rain, it would be even more fitting. Celine looked at me with her clear, bright eyes. What's going on between you and Fiona? I shrugged. It's just like that. We had hot pot together, eating buddies. Celine's expression changed. Are you two together? Oh, she stood here all night. Knew Fiona stayed over, so she must have misunderstood. But I couldn't be bothered to explain. She could think whatever she wanted. Celine stepped forward and grabbed my hand, her face pale, eyes red-rimmed, looking utterly shattered. Lucas, haven't you always wanted my heart? I can give it to you. Hilarious. What would I do with her heart? I only wanted her money. For the first time, Celine explained her relationship with Caleb. There's no romantic love between Caleb and me. We grew up together. I see him as family. I pulled my hand away. Celine, from the moment we divorced, we regained our freedom. Never mind you being with Caleb. Even if you were with John or Mike, it has nothing to do with me. Celine seemed unable to believe it. What did you say? Celine was a top student. Was this sentence so hard to understand? I looked at her face and said word for word. Celine, let me put it this way. I don't love you anymore. Celine's body jolted, as if she couldn't accept it, tears streaming down her face. This was the first time I had ever seen her cry. Suddenly, Celine knelt before me. Lucas, can you give me another chance? I was startled and stepped back. No. I didn't look at her again and walked away without turning back. My mind was on how many meat buns to buy later. Later, I found out Celine had fainted at my doorstep that day, fell seriously ill, and even ended up in the emergency room. But it had nothing to do with me anymore. My life afterward was incredibly enjoyable. Got my beloved car, drove my BMW around everywhere, flirting with girls. Fiona treated me to big meals from time to time, and I occasionally treated her to street food. While eating one day, Fiona, did you see today's trending topic? What trending topic? Fiona showed me her phone. Caleb's scandal. It turned out that Caleb's dark past before his debut had been exposed. On the surface, he was a car mechanic, but in reality, he used car repairs as a pretext to have relationships with multiple wealthy women, being kept by them long-term, with various transaction records and explicit photos. Not to mention, his face was the predaboy type that wealthy women would adore. He was just Blackheart. He deserved this fate. I heard he was blacklisted and beaten half to death by the husbands of those wealthy women. Fiona paused, looking at my face. He's lying in the hospital, unable to even pay his medical bills. Celine hasn't bothered with him either. She's cut ties with him. Seeing my lack of expression, Fiona teased. Your ex-wife must be heartbroken now. If you take advantage of her vulnerability, you could definitely win her heart. I rolled my eyes at her. Am I crazy? Fiona smiled. I'm planning to open another branch company. Want to come help me? I remembered Fiona would become a top figure in the business world in the future with immense assets. If I worked with her, I could definitely get a piece of the pie. How about I invest $1 million and become a shareholder? Sure. And so, I invested $1 million in Fiona's new branch company, and she entrusted me with its management. Fiona indeed had a keen business sense. Soon, the company started to turn a profit, earning more and more. I was counting money until my hands were sore. After completing a major project, the company held a celebration banquet, which was live-streamed. The host invited Fiona and me on stage. The company is thriving and will only get better. When will CEO Lucas and CEO Fiona treat us to wedding candy? Yes, Fiona and I were together. The thrill of a new encounter can't compare to the comfort of long-term companionship. We finally broke through that barrier after getting drunk one night. She accidentally fell and bumped into my lips, and I quickly took the lead and kissed her. After we got together, I learned that Fiona had a crush on me for a long time. She wasn't as spoiled and willful as she appeared on the outside. She was tolerant and considerate towards me, and often acted cute. Hubby, kiss kiss. Hubby, hug hug. No man could resist that. I held Fiona's hand, our fingers intertwined. We've already registered our marriage and are planning the wedding for next year. The whole venue burst into applause. Now I had money, a wife, a winner in life. At this moment, Celine was at home watching me on the screen. She shed tears of regret. No matter how rich or powerful she became, she was destined to be alone for life, having forever lost the one she loved.